Dumelang guys, welcome back to Life as You Know It. So it's not completely Life as You Know It because as you can see I'm alone today, so you will be just with me this episode. We have been trying to shoot a video together for the longest time ever. Like we have been trying. I think even when we went to Cape Town, we were like, yes, this is an opportunity. We are actually going to do this. And we took a lot of random videos, landscape versus portrait. We were in there. But somehow a video just didn't come together, guys, because wow, we realized that, hey man, props to people who do YouTube videos every week because wow, there's so much work. And there's also even more work when there is 5 of you and you have to sort of sync your schedules. And yeah, the world is not as we know it, so yeah, it's very difficult for us to actually even be in the same area at the same time. It doesn't happen. I think even for us to go to Cape Town early this year together, it was a mission that we were trying to just make it work. I remember during that week, like a lot of things were not working for some of us, but you know what, we made it work. But also this is an apology to apologize to our faithful what do you call them, subscribers to our faithful subscribers and supporters who have been saying, guys, please shoot a video, shoot something, we need something, give us content. So I think, yeah, thank you to you guys for pushing us, because here we are trying to give you something. I'm so sorry I did not introduce myself. Mosima. Those who know me from other places will know that my other name is Kathy. So yeah, so today is just me. We thought, okay, it would be great to maybe just shoot videos in our separate lives and then just put it together on our YouTube channel. Because right now where we find ourselves is actually life as we know it. So how about we share that and I share our experiences there and share the things that we are learning there, the things that we are discovering there. So today you guys are in my corner and I'm going to be sharing about my walk with Christ. So I'm a Christian. I gave my life to Jesus in varsity. I think about 7 years ago. I think it's 7 years ago. 2014 to 2021. That's 7, right? It sounds like 7. Yes, it's 7. So yeah, I gave my life to Jesus 7 years ago, and it's been an interesting ride. I think I continue to learn so much about the nature of God, and that has been a good mirror for me to look at myself and see myself through his lenses. So this week, in this episode, I'm going to be bringing you guys into one of the things that I have been in conversation with God about this week, actually. So when Danky was like, hey, would you like to share something about Christianity? At first I was like, oh, Christianity, I did not go to school for this Christian life thing. So it's a bit, I think I feel a bit inadequate in sharing about it. I'm just like, oh, you are not well versed. I said, don't do that. You're going to be giving people the wrong advice. You're going to be telling people the wrong scriptures. Your references are going to be all over the place. And then it's going to show that you're not like Christ-like enough. So I struggle a lot with that, with am I enough? In every situation I walk into, it's am I enough? So this is me being absolutely vulnerable and letting you guys into a very sacred space of my life that usually is only reserved for my friends and people close to me. They get to see this. I think even only recently my family was able to experience it and see it, that on my birthday my brother was speaking and he was actually saying this to the rest of the family, and he was like, he had a conversation with him, which in that conversation, guys, I said, I think probably I spoke 15% of the time and he was speaking most of the time, majority of the time. But somehow he felt that I was a source of counsel for him, like I was a source of spiritual counsel for him. And he was saying he advises that my family takes advantage of it. So here I am bringing that spiritual counsel into the space, and let's see how it goes. I hope someone who's listening will be like, hey, that's actually like something that I struggle with as well. Oh, okay, I had never thought about it like that. I hope my story encourages you. If maybe you don't relate, but it still encourages you to go deeper in your relationship with Jesus. So yeah, let's get into it. I have my notes here because this is my second attempt at doing this video, and I realized that because I'm an in my head type of person, I always think there's blanks and I try fill in blanks. So I'll be speaking about one thing and then chiki I am gone trying to speak about another thing. So I made notes for my second attempt so that I am better able to explain myself in a logical way that you and I can understand. So yeah, I hope you have your coffee and some refreshment or water or tea or Coke. I love Coke, so if you have Coke, what's good. I don't know what the hands were for. I really don't know. I think I'm nervous. I am very nervous because I can do this with my friends, like when there's like 5 of us, but when it's just me, I'm just like, Lord, do I have to do this? So when Danky said, hey, do you want to share about Christianity? I was like, at first I was hesitant, but I actually went back to the message. On WhatsApp, when you go back to a message and you respond to that message after you guys have spoken about other things, I was like, you know what, actually, I have something that I want to share. And yeah, so definitely I'll do it. So I'll just go into it. So it all starts with a dream, a recurring dream that I have. Like once in a while, I'll just have this dream. So in the dream, I am naked, I am bare, and I'm exposed. And I am very much aware of my nakedness in the dream that I am trying by all attempts to try and cover up. Like in the dream, I'm trying to think, where are my clothes? Where can I find my clothes and wear them? Because I am bare and I'm exposed and I'm in public. And surely people, and funny enough, in the dream, the people around me are not actually even reacting to my my state of nakedness, of exposed and bareness. No one is reacting to it. I'm the one who's like, I am feeling exposed, I am feeling naked, I am naked, I am aware, I can see I'm not wearing anything. In other dreams it would be maybe I'm not wearing a shirt, but others it's like completely exposed. So it's a recurring dream that comes and goes, and normally I'm just like, oh, whatever, I don't know what that means. I'm sure astronomical people and other people have all sorts of interpretations for it, and I've never seeked interpretation for it because I'm really scared of people's ideas and people just bringing their ideas and just messing with your head. Because me, if you tell me something, I think about it, I dwell on it, so I'm just like, don't even seek anything on it. So I was watching Better Together TV, which is a really good plug. I'll plug it down below. They have a YouTube page, and Stephanie Ike was talking about how we need to be a people who, in the morning when you wake up, you ask God about your dreams. You ask God, if you forget, because sometimes you dream and you forget. If you forgot, ask God about your dreams. What did you dream about? If you had a disturbing dream, ask God to unpack it, to interpret the dream for you. Because sometimes we are so busy and we don't take time out to rest that God speaks to us in our dreams, because in our dreams we are in our most vulnerable state. We can hear God properly. We can hear, you can hear God well when you are resting, but because we are a busy people and we are always moving to the next thing, rest, our state of rest is one of the places where God can actually talk to us in. So the morning after the dream, I was just having my daily prayer as normal, and I have changed my daily prayer in the sense that in the morning my daily prayer is always thank you for rest, and I ask you for my daily bread, right? And my daily bread is not like just actual food, but my daily bread could be creative ideas of how to approach my work, how to lead my team, how to serve my leaders, how to serve those who are around me, how to be aware of God's presence, asking for, to respond to how to respond to God's presence. So that's daily bread. Rest is like, actually, God, thank you that I rested, because I struggled with sleep a lot recently. So I've been so intentional about thanking God for rest and, asking Him for rest and thanking Him for rest the next day. So as I was thanking God for rest, I was like, wait, actually, Jesus, I did not sleep well because there's this dream that's been occurring and somehow I have never brought it to you. So, hey, let's talk about it. Why am I having this dream, right? Why am I having this dream where I'm feeling so exposed? So what's going on? Like, why am I naked in my dream? And I used to sleep. Okay, maybe this is not the part where you say such things, but I used to sleep naked. So because I get hot quickly, so I used to sleep naked. And so I thought, when I used to sleep naked, I was like, maybe it's because I'm sleeping naked that I'll dream of myself naked, because I am naked, But now when I don't sleep naked, I'm just like, why? So then when I asked God, how God talks to me, I've never heard an audible voice, but it's a thought. So the thought that came to my mind was shame. And where God was saying that I'm exposing that shame. You're feeling exposed, you're feeling naked because I am trying to talk to you about shame, right? And that's why it's a dream that comes a lot. And because I want us to talk about that, some conversations God will invite you to. I think most conversations we invite God to, but this was a conversation that God invited me to, and said, hey, let's talk about shame in your life and the role it has played in shaping who you are, and how you show up in rooms and how you show up in spaces, right? So then, cool. I'm like, okay, cool, let's engage. And then the second thought was, what is your earliest memory of feeling embarrassed? And I was like, my earliest memory of feeling embarrassed, because the shame is the bigger thing, right? But how it shows up in our everyday life, it shows up in embarrassment. So I think, don't quote me, guys. Like I said, I am not a doctor, I'm not a pastor, I'm not anything. This is all disclaimer, it's all from my personal experience. So I believe that shame shows up in our everyday life as embarrassment, right? And embarrassment is normal. So hence why we are not able to identify shame for what it is, because embarrassment is normal. It's like you are walking and you fall, and everybody laughs and you're embarrassed a bit, and then you shake it off. It's like a momentary feeling, and then that's it, and we get over it. But at the core of it, at the root of it, it's shame. So the thought is, what is your earliest memory? And my earliest memory, I couldn't remember for a minute, and then again, the Holy Spirit was so gracious, because it's his conversation pillar, he is running it. So brought into remembrance my earliest memory of embarrassment. And my earliest memory of embarrassment was January 2001. I was 7 years old and I was going to grade 1. I was going to a new school, in a new city, new township that we had moved to. And the school was actually even further from my house, because the one closer to my house, they did not have spaces for late registrations, because we did a late registration because we had just moved after my parents formally separated. So my mom moved with me and my siblings to Sesheo. So then the school, it was go zone 8 and we stayed go zone 5. So then it was a bit of a distance. As a child, I really thought it was far, guys. I really thought it was far. But now, I think one time I was talking to a friend and we actually checked the distance. And I think it was like about 2 kilometers. And I was really like, I was shook. And I was like, as a child, that was like too far from me, because we used to walk. And it felt far. So then, cool. The school, on top of it being a new school, it's also far away from all these people that I just made friends with in my hood. It's not at the same school as them, so I was feeling uneasy about a lot of things. And most of the kids in that school had started at grade R. Me, I did grade R. So like it was just a lot of uneasiness that I was feeling. And if that was not enough, on top of that, I did not have school shoes. And because I did not have school shoes, my mom being a creative person that she is, she had bought me some shoes. I don't even know why she bought those shoes. I don't even think if I told her the story, she'll remember those shoes, because I remember them because they scarred me. They scarred this baby girl, okay? So these shoes, they were blue. They had like white flowers on top of all over them, and they had a young gumketle, so like a heel. So, and I was wearing them with white socks. So you can imagine the mess and how they stood out, because now the white versus the white of the flowers, it stood out. It was like, hi, I am not Taffies, I am not Bacania, and I am not black. So I was just like, oh my word, this is so embarrassing. And I had no choice but to wear them, because I can't go to school barefoot. My mom was not going to have that. And I'm not going to wear like everyday shoes that I play with. My mom was like, you're wearing these shoes and you're going to school with them until I buy you proper school shoes. And I don't even remember when my mom ended up buying me proper school shoes. But yeah, I think it eventually happened. So then I was embarrassed the whole day, because I felt like I did not belong. I did not fit in. I just felt out of place. I felt like people were looking at me. And I'm sure if we asked someone who went to school with me that day, no one looked at me. And I'm sure even the teachers understood that, shame, poor girl, first day at school, probably they haven't bought shoes. And I'm sure no one made me feel bad about it, but I felt bad about it because I knew what story it told. It told a story that I was ashamed of. So this is where the shame comes in. That just like in the dream where I am naked, but everybody else around me is not paying attention to it. They're not moved by it. They're not moved by my nakedness. They're not moved by this person who is exposed in front of them. Even then, 2001, January in grade 1, 7-year-old me was so bothered by the fact that she's wearing school shoes that are not school shoes, but everybody around her was not bothered about it. Like, everybody was in their zone, and as much as, we always saying kids are mean, that day, like, there was no hint of anyone being mean to me or anything like that. Like, legit, like, there was no hint of any of that, right? But here I was feeling all the embarrassment in the world. And as I unpacked that, I realized that how shame comes into the equation is that I was embarrassed of the shoes, right? But I was more ashamed by the story the shoes told, because I felt like the story the shoes told was that you are not from here, you don't fit in, you can't afford school shoes, you come from a really messed up family. Like, surely your people are messed up that they would let you come to school with shoes like that on the first day of school. How did they not plan properly to buy you the proper shoes? But to sum it all up, just so I don't go on a tangent, to sum it all up, I was ashamed that it told the story of my background. It was as if anyone who looked at the shoes could tell that I come from a 2-room house where there's a bed in the kitchen, and the kitchen also doubles as a bathroom. It was as if like anyone who looked at my shoes could tell that. And come to think of it now, because I was new in the school, I had uniform. Like, the rest of my uniform, I had it. The only thing I didn't have was shoes. I had neat uniform, like proper, it was neat, it was clean, everything. But I was bothered by my shoes, and I felt like my shoes told a story of how inadequate I am, and how I don't belong in this place. And if I think about it, that's my earliest memory of a time of not belonging, of not, being part of something, And I'm going to stop here to bring it back, actually, to reel it in and say that as I was going through this and I was thinking about it, and I was just like, wow, okay, this is really hectic. I was like, this is really hectic, Lord. I was reminded of Genesis 1. The setting is that Genesis 1 talks about God creating, God the creator, and in Genesis, no, not Genesis 1, sorry, I'm lying. I am in Genesis 3. But just to give context, in Genesis 1, after God had created Adam, the man, he still calls him the man in Genesis 2. And after he created him, he put the man in the Garden of Eden, and God had all sorts of trees growing in this garden, and there was the tree of life in the middle of the garden, and also there was a tree of knowledge of good and evil in the garden, right? And God commands the man, and he says, you can eat from any tree in the garden except from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Don't eat from it. The moment you eat from that tree, you're dead, right? And I think it's here where we see, I think my first time where I see a God who has parameters, who it's a relationship. He's in relationship with Adam, but he is creating boundaries, right? He's creating boundaries in their relationship, and he says that tree is a boundary. Do not eat from that tree, because if you eat from that tree, you will know good from evil. You'll be able to tell good and evil. All right, and this is I think because God created the universe, God created the world, and he can tell good and evil. And Jackie Hill Perry, my girl, explains this really well. And she says, because God created the world, right, he can tell good and evil from a prescriptive point of view. Prescriptive as in like from a doctor's point of view. It's like going to a doctor, and a doctor can tell you what is cancer and what is not cancer. But as a patient, you know it from an experiential point of view. So what was happening here, God was saying, God, in all his wonderful wisdom and knowledge, and being the creator of this thing, was saying, I'm going to create a boundary around this one thing, because if you are to be exposed to it, if you are to eat, not only will you know good and evil, but you will actually know it from an experiential point of view. You will not know it from my point of view where it's a prescriptive type, but you will know it from an experiential type of view. So God, even here we see a God who is protecting us, who is for us, and who wants good for us. Because he wanted good for Adam, he was saying, hey man, don't eat that, because if you eat that, you will be operating in an area that I'm not operating in, and so I'm trying to protect you here. Don't eat of that tree, right? Great. Then cool, that happens. But then as we know in Genesis 3, the story plays out. They eat the fruit of this tree, and immediately, guys, the Bible says immediately, not a second later, but immediately the two of them did see what's really going on, saw themselves naked. They saw immediately in that moment, they saw themselves naked. They were aware of their nakedness after eating that. They were aware of good and evil, like God had said, right? And this is the first time they try in their means to be like, oh, like this is the first time they are confronted, if I could say, with the knowledge of good and evil, and it's so overwhelming that they go and hide. They hide in the trees of the garden and hide from God. And they are hiding from God because they are ashamed. Why are they ashamed? They are in relationship with God, and God had set boundaries in this relationship, and they had crossed that boundary. And after crossing the boundary, they realized why God had said, do not eat from that tree, right? And I'm using this scripture because I think in my prayer, this is where I find myself. I find myself at a point where, not in my prayer, did I say in my prayer? In my dream, this is where I find myself. I find myself at a point where I am ashamed. And I am ashamed of, oh no, sorry, I'm going to cut that out. And then I am sharing this because I like the next part of what happened next, the interaction between them and God. Because God called the man and he said, where are you? He said, and where are you? That's God. And then the man said, I heard you in the garden and I was afraid because I was naked and I hid. And I love God's response here. God said, who told you that you were naked? That part for me is why I am sharing the scripture. So I felt like God asked me, what's your earliest memory of being like embarrassed? And I told him. And the question that followed after that was, who told you that you were inadequate? Who told you? And yeah, I had like a serious pause there, and I was like, Mosima, who told you that you were inadequate? Because that's the story that you held on to. That's the narrative that you carried with you, that you allowed to shape you and your identity, to tell who you are. That when you walked into every room, you walked in as the one who was less than. You walked in as the one who was inadequate, who was not enough. Who told you? And was it true that Adam and Eve were naked? It was true. It was, and the same goes to me. Is it true that I am inadequate? It is. And I'm going to be very controversial and say it is, in the sense that outside of God, I am absolutely inadequate. Outside of Jesus, I am absolutely inadequate. I come short every time. I come short every time, outside of Jesus, I believe, and the enemy uses the truth against us. The enemy uses the truth against us because it is true, the fact that Mosima alone, I am not enough. But it is equally true that Jesus, the Son of Man, Jesus, Emmanuel, he is absolutely enough. And hence why in the Bible somewhere it says, God, it does say God a lot in the Bible, but it says that, his strength is made perfect in my weakness. That my weaknesses are not a negative, that they are true. But it is also true that his strength then is made perfect in my weakness, so that the awareness that I was not enough, the awareness that I was different, the awareness that I stood out, the awareness that there was something different about me, there was something different in the way I was made, in the fabric, the awareness, could it be that God was just saying to me, introducing to me, that in every room that you're going to walk in, you're going to be different. You're going to be something else. You're going to stand out. You won't fit in, and that's okay. Because I didn't come from a people who are the same. I did not come from, I just saw a video this morning on WhatsApp, and the lady was sharing that, we share the gospel in a way that that's influenced by our cultural backgrounds, and sometimes that communicates that, you know, we should be the same, you know, we share it according to our norms, what's normal to us and everything, and sometimes it communicates the notion that we should be the same. But no, God didn't come from a people who are the same. You know, he came for neither male or female, you know, he came for all of us, you know, in our differences, you know. So yeah, so I lost my train of thought because my point is, who told you that you are not enough? Who told you that you are naked? They didn't lie to you. They told you the truth. It's the truth that Adam and Eve were naked. But who told them? Because they gave, whoever that is, they gave that person authority, right? They gave that person authority to speak to their identity. They gave that person authority to dictate and, you know, sort of instruct how they live. But that person did not create them. You know, that person did not create them. There's a book that I got from church when I got saved. And recently when I did counseling at church, my counselor actually used it. It's a 1-to-1 foundations book by Every Nation. So there's a paragraph in there. I love it so much and I always go back to it. And it says, God, the all-powerful creator of the universe, created everything to reflect and reveal his glory. As creator and rightful owner of everyone and everything, he is the most qualified to instruct, protect, and provide for us. So that for me is always a reminder that who is talking to me? You know, who told you that you were naked? Because that person now is trying to tell you, the created, who you are. That person is trying to instruct you how you walk into a room. That person is trying to trick you into you thinking that he can protect and provide for you. But they're wrong, because they did not create you. You know, they did not create you. They don't understand your make. They don't understand the layers of you. They don't understand how you evolve. Only your creator can understand that. Only your creator can comprehend that, because he knows what he put where. You get it? So it is at this point where we see God highlighting that, who are the voices in your life? Who are you listening to? Because I had told you, do not eat from the tree, and you went ahead and ate. So who did you listen to? Because that person is the person who is dictating your identity right now, who is telling you who you are, right? So it goes on further to say, God says, did you eat from the tree I told you not to eat from? To highlight that whoever told you to eat is the very same person who told you you were naked, right? The man said, the woman you gave me as a companion, she gave me fruit from the tree, and yes, I ate it. And Adam here, oh my God, says the woman. But we know the woman was tricked as well. Okay, that's a that's a story for another day. And then God said to the woman, what is this that you have done? Because for God, he realized that they have stepped out. We are in relationship and they have stepped out. And you know how it says that because God created everything and everyone, he is the most capable to provide and protect us. So we have stepped now outside of his protection. Like at this point, it was that mankind has stepped out of God's protection, you know. And a friend said recently that every story in the Bible is a story of redemption. It's a story of a God who is reconciling himself to his people. From creation, we see a God who is reconciling himself to his people. It's a story. The Bible is a big story of redemption. What follows later in Genesis 3:21, it says God made leather clothing for Adam and Eve, for Adam and his wife. He made leather clothing and he dressed them. So we see a God who, in spite of his people, walking away from him, he is reconciling himself to them. And the leather clothing is made from an animal that was slaughtered. So we see here that the wages of sin is death, that there needed to be an atonement for Adam and Eve stepping out, which later we see it being Jesus on the cross. In 2 Corinthians 5:21, it says he made him who knew no sin be sin, so that we could be the righteousness of God. So we see a God who would go to any length to reconcile us to himself. And I love that it shows that in the same chapter, even, it doesn't wait for Jesus on the cross, but God has always been a God of redemption from that point, right? So let's take it back to my story. So if we take it back to my story, we'd see that in my dream, in my awareness of how naked I am, in my awareness of how inadequate I am, and how that has shaped how I walk into every room. I think the earliest memory could be 7, but there could be maybe an earlier memory of my inadequacy. But that has shaped how I walk into every room. That has shaped how I do relationships with people, how I, walk into any situation, how I approach my work. I've allowed so many things to speak to my identity. I've allowed work to affirm me. I've allowed friends to affirm me, for my family to affirm me. But what my heart has been desiring all along, what my heart has been, going after all along, is the well that never runs dry, is the affirmation that never runs dry. So I think for me, my dream is God highlighting to me that there's parts of me that he wants to redeem. There's parts of me that he wants to reconcile to himself. I think my identity, he wants to redeem my identity. So mine and God's story is just like you and God's story, a story of redemption. Story of a God who made him who knew no sin be sin, so that I may be the righteousness of God, so that I may be in right standing with God. In Genesis 3:20, just before God actually makes clothes for them, God says, the man known as Adam named his wife Eve because she was the mother of all things living. This is after the fall. This is after, Adam and Eve have stepped out on God, but God bestows on them identity. He gives them identity, and he names Adam, Adam, and he names Eve, Eve. So I love it. I love that, even in my life, just as the Bible tells the story of a God who is reconciling himself to his people, my life is a story of a God who's reconciling himself to me, and how beautiful is it that he pursued me in such a simple dream, and it unraveled into such a big thing. I never thought this dream was that. I never thought this was a pursuit by God to redeem my identity. But it is. It's a pursuit by God to redeem my identity, to reclaim what has been stolen from me. When God created the man in Genesis 2, he says that, you will be the head and not the tail, basically, saying that the man will rule over everything. God created us for his glory, so that we may reflect his glory in our creativity, in our thoughts, in how we walk into anything, so that we can walk in fully aware that we are chosen by a God who at every turn is trying to reconcile us to himself. And I love that. I think it's such a beautiful love story that he pursues us so persistently and so consistently, only so we could return to what he has called us to be, only for our benefit, so that we could enjoy being in relationship with him, so that we could enjoy, being known by him, being, instructed by him, being protected by him, being provided for by him. That's it. I think you can share your thoughts down below. Share your ideas. Share where you are with God. Share anything, what you think. But I think if there's 3 things I would like us to focus on, because everything is nice in threes. I don't know what the third one is going to be. The first one is, who told you? Whatever it is that you are feeling, whatever inadequacy you're feeling, whatever hopelessness or anything that you are feeling, who told you? Who told you about it? Right? That's the first thing. Right? And then I'm lying. First is, where are you? Right? Which is the first thing that God asks Adam and Eve, is, where are you? And then the second is, wherever you find yourself, who told you that? Who told you that about yourself? Right? Who told you that about yourself? And then the third thing, because everything is nice in threes, and I don't have the third thing. But I think the third thing is just sit with God. To sit with God and allow him to unpack whatever it is that you're going through, whatever it is that you're experiencing, whatever inadequacy you're experiencing. Because the presence of inadequacy should not scare us. Because if anything, God said, I will make him who knew no sin to be sin, so that you may be the righteousness of God. So if we find ourselves depleted, inadequate, small, less than, whatever situation you find yourself in, I think it's perfect ground for his strength to be perfected. So thank you guys for joining us on this installment. That's what YouTubers call it, installment. And I hope you guys have a great week and have a great time, and may the Lord bless you, may the Lord keep you, may the Lord make his face shine upon you, in Jesus' name, amen.